budget. We have no kind of campaign running. Just to be clear on one of the questions.
Thanks for the clarification.
So
Thank you.
it's much more word of mouth inside the APS.
Yeah, definitely.
Senator Patterson.
Thank you, Chair.
Dr Brower, in response to questions I asked on notice, it's been revealed that the APSC has spent more than $400,000 on executive retreats and training in an environment where government spending is very high, inflation is rising and interest rates are increasing. Do you think that is a publicly defensible use of taxpayers' money?
Yes, Senator.
Why do you think it is necessary to spend $400,000 on Southern Highlands retreats for public servants to train them? Are there no cheaper ways to conduct training like that?
Yep. So, yeah, thanks. Sorry, just let me... So those training courses, Senator, are about leadership, for leadership programs, and they go back to what Senator Pocock raised around how do we ensure that we avoid some of the failures of the past of poor leadership, and these leadership programs are an essential part of doing that. We're very mindful of public expenditure and of how we spend public money, and it is public money. It's not our money, it's taxpayers' money. But this is a really important way of investing in people to ensure that we get the best outcomes. I might ask my colleague, Dr Banerjee, but I have complete confidence in this program, Senator.
Shubho Banerjee, Deputy Commissioner, Head of APS Academy and Capability. Senator, these leadership programs are based on evidence about organisational performance that's drawn across many different sectors. They're long-standing programs in the APS. They follow similar leadership practices in the private sector and the not-for-profit sector, in a range of different areas, indeed in the Defence Force as well. We, through those programs, look to make sure that we have an opportunity for senior leaders to reflect on their practice, on what it means to be a senior public servant, how you think about the APS values, including the new value of stewardship that's been encoded, and work through that individually and then as a cohort. We're very, very mindful of proper expenditure and making sure that we achieve value for money in making sure that these courses run well. A number of the courses have a residential component, which is very much typical of leadership courses of this sort, and again is a long-standing feature. We have tended to run those courses in a number of different locations, city locations in Sydney, in Victoria as well as regional locations in Victoria and New South Wales. Each time we run one, we take quotes, we have a look at value for money based on the facilities and the other costs that are incurred, and we look to get the best deal that we possibly can for the expenditure. In the press reporting today, Senator, I note that the per participant figure that was given for one of these courses was incorrect. It was this is the SES Band 3 or Stewardship Program. The correct figure there is $343 per participant.
So I completely accept that training and development is an essential part of core business of the public service. We want people to be capable, and I am not someone who says that's not necessary. But is it necessary to go to the Southern Highlands to do that? Is there no other cheaper way to do that?
Senator, as I said, we've gone to a number of different locations over time. We've had these programs in Shepparton. We've had these programs in Sydney CBD as well. We've had them in a number of other locations as well. In Kiama, in Geelong, there are a number of different locations for thinking about these things. It depends a little bit on the intent of the program, what we're trying to do, but it also does depend a little bit on logistics. So we're looking for a central location that is easily accessible to SES. And then, as I mentioned, we're looking at the facilities that are available for the venue. The Southern Highlands location that you've mentioned, as I said, the actual cost of that is $343 per participant per night. That is in the mid-range. The average is about $370 for these offerings, and it's well below what would be incurred if we were in a Sydney CBD location.
Sure, but I mean, many, not all, but many of the SES officers who are your target audience are Canberra-based. Did you consider hosting any of these in Canberra?
So, Senator, we have thought about this. So two things that are on my mind in thinking about these courses. The first is that it's only roughly a third of public servants that are Canberra-based now, so we actually have a substantial national footprint. And understandably, SES officers who are outside Canberra are keen also to be considered in terms of whether or not we can look to minimise the travel burden on them. We do follow the practice of having a residential component because the unequivocal evidence of the learning impact is that bringing a group together makes a difference. And so if you have it in the immediate work location, for busy senior people, inevitably that means that they're pulled away into their day job in a different way. So
Sure.
We're trying to balance all these different things. I think it's a very common model for leadership development. We take the value for money considerations very, very seriously. We take multiple quotes and we think about moving into different places so that we can test different environments.
Sure, but I mean, that answer is slightly contradictory. On the one hand, you said you try to organise it where people are, and on the other hand, you said we need to take people away from where they are. I mean,
No,
how many
it's a residential component.
How many SES officers are based in Shepparton or near it?
I'd have to take that on notice.
Probably not many.
Senator,
Can we take a guess?
As I mentioned on the way through, it depends on the circumstances of the program. The Shepparton program is the Band 2 leadership program, which specifically looks at engagement with community. So in that program, we were specifically looking to go to a location where we could talk to a range of different community leaders who would have different perspectives that are outside a mainstream capital metropolitan setting. So part of our rationale there was to think about a different form of program and the best location for that different program. That's the flexibility that I was mentioning before, that we think about a range of different circumstances when we're thinking about where to locate these programs.
Sure. That SES Band 3 agency head program you talked about, it did cost $43,000, didn't it?
Senator, there was a response to the QAN that was provided to you.
Yep.
That itemised two aspects of the cost. The sum I could check against the QAN, but the numbers that were given in the QAN were accurate.
So if it was $43,000 for that program, just explain the maths to me. How does that work out to $340 per participant? I mean,
so Senator,
unless you're training thousands of people.
Two components of the cost cover all participants plus facilitators and everyone that needs to run the program.
Right.
So it might have been that the division that was done that was not provided in the QAN. So the number that was quoted today was not provided in the QAN, was clearly off a different base.
So, but hang on. Are you saying that the $340 cost per night does not include all expenses associated with the program?
No, I'm saying it does, Senator. I'm saying that the base of the number of people that are considered in those two component pieces is most likely the reason for the difference. I didn't calculate the other number, Senator, so I can't give you the maths for the other number.
Sure. Well, we can only go off the information you provide us, and the QAN does say that that program cost $43,000, but you're telling me the cost per night was $343. So either it's a very long program, or there are thousands of officers participating in it in order to get it up to that level, or hundreds at least.
Senator, I'm happy to provide our working on notice if that's helpful to you, but as I say, my guess, without having access to how the other number was calculated, is that the difference is in the base in some form. But we didn't calculate the other number. We calculated cost per participant for a range of other programs in that QAN, which we would stand behind. The average cost per participant per night is of the order of $370, which is roughly consistent with all the others that are calculated from us in that table. The number that was quoted this morning was not from us. I don't know how that was quoted.
So just so we're clear, that the $370 average figure and the $340 figure for this particular program, that is inclusive of all costs. It's not just accommodation. It includes transport, guest speakers.
It includes the components
lot.
of the costs that were given to you, and yes, that's all costs.
Well, were there any components of the cost that weren't given to me?
No.
No. So that's all inclusive.
Yes.
Transport, per diems,
It's all inclusive in the APSC's expenditure.
Right.
When someone attends, generally an agency would cover some aspects of their costs as well.
So it may not include their flights, for example, if their home department paid for it.
That could well be the case, Senator.
Right. Well, how else are they going to get there if they have to fly there?
Yes, Senator.
Right. So we don't have the total cost of this program, and it could be more than $370 a night if you include transport costs paid for still by taxpayers, but just not by the APSC.
Senator, the question was about costs incurred by the APSC, and we've given you an accounting of the APSC costs.
Yes, but Dr Banerjee, I think you understand that the important thing for taxpayers is not how much it costs the agency, but how much it costs them. How much did they pay for this training to take place?
APSC is not responsible for it. Like, they're responsible for answering the questions that you have asked of them, and they've done that.
Yes, but I was left with the very strong impression that this was the total cost of the program. Now we hear it's the total cost of the program borne by the APSC, and there may in fact be costs not included. So the $370 figure per night might give a misleading impression to Australians about how much they are actually paying for this training to take place.
Well, if we can see if there's anything further we can provide you, but the question as to APSC's responsibilities have been answered.
Yep. Minister, you're the Finance Minister.
Yep.
Do you think Australians are entitled to know what the total cost of these programs are?
Well, we answer the questions that we've asked.
And I'm asking a new question.
Yeah. Well, so let me finish. I am supportive of leadership training and capability building across the APS, and I, as Finance Minister, as always, are keen to make sure that there's good value for money, as appropriate, as agencies do when they determine these matters. And we, will provide all the information to questions that you have, Senator Patterson. I note when you did leadership training that you declared on your register, it was a scholarship program. There isn't scholarship programs in the APS for that. Your leadership training was in the Hunter Valley. It was a residential program. It was valued at the cost of $32,000. So obviously there's merit. You've seen there's merit in going on leadership training. I'm sure it's helped you do the job that you're doing today here. I support it as well. But we are accountable for taxpayers for the expenditure of that money. There are no scholarship programs like the one that you went on that are able to be provided to our SES.
I think there are, actually.
The public,
I think there are,
well,
but anyway.
therefore, the taxpayers or public funds are used to support that training. And yes, I totally support trying to get the best out of our SES leaders, including developing new leadership to come through the APS.
Like you, I support training for SES, but I think it's completely legitimate to understand what taxpayers are paying for it.
And we'll answer any question you have, and we have. APSC have answered the question that they were asked and for the information that they have available.
Yep. Well,
I would like to rotate the call.
Thank you. Let me conclude on this, Chair, and please then do rotate the call. Can I ask you to take on notice the total cost for participants, total cost to taxpayers for participants, including any costs borne by their home agency or department?
Let's see what's possible, about how do we answer that if you leave it with us. We understand the question you're asking. It may be very difficult for APSC to coordinate that information, but we'll see what we can provide.
Well, just to clarify, Minister, if that's not possible to provide, then how would taxpayers know what the actual cost?
Presumably, you would lodge a question on notice for departments, like you do, thousands every day, because I have to sign them off.
It's not thousands.
Well, it feels
Some other
like
senators do that, I don't.
It feels like it. I think for people answering them and signing them off.
I know transparency is hard sometimes, Minister, but I think taxpayers are entitled to it.
It's not hard.
I'm sorry for the burden.
I have a view that I think it should be more targeted. I never took the approach that the opposition takes now, which is just to relodge thousands of questions on notice across departments routinely, like seriously every 3 months the same question asked. That wasn't the approach I took in opposition because I wanted to use it as genuine transparency, not a fishing expedition. But you have the approach that you've taken. I see no reason why you could not put a question on notice, blanketed across the APS, as you do, with certain questions, and ask them to provide that information. It's not really the APSC's job to go and basically do that work on your behalf.
Minister, sometimes
Senator
when those
Patterson.
questions are asked, we don't get the information. We just get a copied and pasted sentence, probably out of the PMO manual, on how to answer questions through Senate estimates. that provides no information for
Well, I sign off a
taxpayers or
lot of
Parliament.
quants to you, Senator Patterson, and they have information. If there has been no change since the month before where you've asked that, you might get a referral back to the previous time that question's been answered. But, you know, we take our responsibility to answer questions seriously.
Well,
And
I
on
look
that,
forward to
I am
being
going to
answered.
rotate the call.
Thanks,
We
Chair.
will be, just for people's understanding, we will be coming back after the lunch break with the APSC.
Okay.
Hope that doesn't...
Are there more questions?